In the last section of our fractions subsection, we are going to be talking about converting between fractions and decimals. Converting between a fraction and a decimal is pretty simple. All you have to do is take your calculator, type the numerator, divide it by the denominator, bam, you got your decimal. So that's what I'm going to do. I have my calculator here with me. I am taking 11, divide by 4, and I get 2.75. I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. I have 7. I'm going to divide it by 20 in my calculator, and I get 0.35. You see problems like this where you are changing a fraction to a decimal? It's as easy as that. Let's change some fractions into decimals that have repeating decimals at the end. We talked about rational numbers either have finite decimals or they repeat. This is how you're going to write it when they repeat. So I'm going to take 5 divided by 9 in my calculator, and I get 0.5555555555556. Now, the calculator is rounding for us. We don't want to round. So what we're going to do is we are going to write 0.555 ... Or you could also write it as 0.5 repeating with the bar on top. Let's do our next example. In my calculator, 18 divided by 11, I get 1.63636363 over and over again. So we could go like this, 1.6363 ... You want to at least show it's repeating once before you do your ... so we know exactly what's repeating. If we just did it this way, 1.63 repeating, ... we don't know if it's the 6-3 repeating or just the 3 repeating, so don't write it that way. Make sure you have what's repeating in there at least a couple of times. But the better way to write this, in my opinion, I like doing it with the bar. 1.63 repeating. That way you know exactly what's repeating. I put the bar over the 6 and the 3 because both the 6 and the 3 are repeating. Let's look at mixed numbers. So mixed numbers are essentially just sums. The way they're written, it kind of looks like they're being multiplied, but in fact, 6 2/3 means 6 plus 2/3. So we're going to learn how to write mixed numbers as an improper fraction. You can see the steps listed here. The first thing we're going to do is multiply the whole number by the denominator. So we're multiplying, even though it says adding up here, we are multiplying the whole number by the denominator. Then we're going to add this result to the original numerator to get the new numerator. And then we're going to keep the same denominator. So let's look at these two examples. We have 2 1/5. So what we're going to do is we need to figure out how to get 2 over 1 to be 2 over 5. To do that, just like it says in step 1, we're going to take 2 times 5, which is 10. We're going to add it to the numerator that's currently there, which is 1, and all of that is over 5. So we have 10 plus 1, which is 11, over 5. We can't reduce that anymore, so our answer is 11/5. Let's look at number 2. This time we have 6 2/3. So we start by multiplying the whole number by the denominator. 6 times 3 is 18. Then we're going to add the original numerator, which is 2, and it all goes over the same denominator. We'll perform that addition. 8 plus 2 is 20 over 3. That does not reduce, so that's our final answer. Now, let's look at a way to write an improper fraction as a mixed number. So the way I like to do this, we can start by looking at the instructions given. Divide the numerator by the denominator to get the whole number part. The remainder after dividing is the new numerator. Keep the same denominator. So I am taking my calculator and I am doing 23 divided by 2. My whole number is 11. Now in my calculator, I'm going to subtract 11 to get rid of that whole number. What I get left is 0.5. I'm going to take that 0.5 and multiply it by 2, our denominator, and that's our remainder. Our remainder is 1, and we put that over our denominator. So I'm going to show you that because I think it'll be a little bit easier if you can actually see the calculator. So let me grab my calculator, pull it over so you can actually see it. So what I did, I took 23, divided by 2, and I got 11.5. 11 is my whole number, so I just wrote that down right away. I still don't know what the leftover is, so I take it and I get rid of the whole number. I subtract 11, and I get 0.5. So that's what our decimal would be. Now we have to convert that into a fraction. So I need to take that, multiply it by the denominator, times 2, and we get 1. And that's how I got the 1/2. Let's take a look at our next example. So this time we have 14 thirds. So I'm going to take 14 divided by 3. Get 4.66666666666666667. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to say my whole number is 4. Let me grab my calculator back. Now I want to get rid of that whole number because I've already dealt with it. I already wrote my 4 down, so I'm subtracting 4. When you subtract your whole number, you should get just a decimal with no whole number. Take that number, multiply it by the denominator, and that's how you get your remainder. Our remainder is 2. So our remainder is 2. That becomes our numerator, and we put that over our original denominator. Let's keep plugging away at this. So we're going to look at adding and subtracting mixed numbers. It is much easier to add and subtract improper fractions than it is mixed numbers. So I'm going to turn these into improper fractions before I do anything. So I have 7 times 3, 21, plus 1 is going to give us 22 thirds for our first number. Plus, now we have to figure out what our next number is. So we'll take our whole number, multiply it by the denominator, and we get 8. We add that 3 from the numerator, and we get 11. So it's going to be 11 fourths. Now we need to find a common denominator. I believe we found a common denominator for 3 and 4 before. It has to have 2 2's in it for the 4 and 1 3 in it. So our lowest common denominator is going to be 12. So on this side, in order to make the denominator 12, we have to multiply it by 4, so we also have to multiply the top by 4. On this side, to make the denominator 12, we have to multiply it by 3. So we also have to multiply the top by 3. So 4 times 22, we're going to get 88 over 12, plus 11 times 3 is 33 over 12. Get our handy-dandy calculator back. Comes to these numbers, I don't necessarily like doing it in my head. 88 plus 33 gives us 121 over 12. So we started with mixed numbers. We probably want our answer to be a mixed number. So let's figure out what that mixed number is going to be. Grab our calculator again. So 121 divided by 12. And that gives us 10.0833333333. So our whole number is 10. That's easy enough. We'll go with that. 10. Now let's try to figure out what our fraction is going to be. Grab our calculator back, subtract that whole number. We'll multiply it by the denominator, which is 12. And we get 1. So our numerator in the leftover fraction is going to be 1. And our denominator is going to remain 12. And that's our final answer. Let's look at subtracting. We have 7 1/3 minus 2 3/4. Let's say we don't want to deal with mixed numbers yet. What you can do is you can say that this is the same thing as saying 7 plus 1/3 minus 2 minus 3/4. We're going to go over the rules of algebra that allow you to do this, but just as a sneak preview, you can switch these two around as long as you keep the negative with the 2. So we can say this is the same thing as saying 7 minus 2 plus 1/3 minus 3/4. 7 minus 2 is 5, so we already have our whole number now. Now we have to figure out what 1/3 minus 3/4 is. So we have our lowest common denominator already, right? We figured out it's 12. So 1/3 is going to turn into 4/12 because we have to multiply the top and bottom by 4. This one we have to multiply the top and bottom by 3, and we get 9/12. So now we have 4 minus 9. We have 5 and negative. 4 minus 9 is negative 5/12. 5 minus 5/12. That's not super friendly. So this situation is one of those, which is why I like making them improper fractions first. You can still do this, but you're going to have to figure out what 5 minus 5/12 is. So you're going to have to change that into an improper fraction anyway. So 60 over 12 minus 5 over 12 equals 55 over 12. And then you have to change that into a mixed number. So let's get rid of all this because, again, it's not the most friendly way to go about this. Definitely want to change these into improper fractions first. So I just wanted to show you it is possible, it's just not necessarily practical. Taking a little bit to erase everything. Almost there. All right. So we did these calculations already, changing 7 1/3 into a number over 12 and 2 3/4 into a number over 12. So let's not recreate the wheel here. Let's just use what we already calculated right here. 7 1/3 is going to be 88/12. 2 3/4 is 33/12. Subtracting these two, and we get 55/12. So let's figure out how to make this a mixed number. 55 divided by 12 is 4.58333333 repeating. So we know our whole number is going to be 4. So now we have to figure out what the decimal is. We know it's going to be something over 12. So we're going to go back to our calculator. We're going to subtract the whole number off and multiply this remainder by 12. And we get 7. So our remainder is going to be 7/12. So let's take a look at multiplying and dividing mixed numbers. This is going to be the last portion of this video. Again, we're going to want to change these into improper fractions first. So let's do that. We have a 2 and a 3. Lowest common denominator has to have a multiple of 2 and a multiple of 3 in it. So that is going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. So we know what our LCD is. We can change these into improper fractions first and do the LCD, or we can do the LCD first and then change them into improper fractions. It doesn't matter, whichever way you prefer to do it. I'm going to change them into improper fractions first just because I'm dealing with smaller numbers that way. So 2 times 3 is 6. So this whole number is going to turn into 6 halves. Add the 1, it's going to turn into 7 halves. Multiply that. 2 times 3, again, is 6, plus 1 is going to be 7/3. So we have 7 times 7 is 49. 2 times 3 is 6. And actually, we're multiplying. We don't need the lowest common denominator here. When we're multiplying and dividing, it doesn't matter what the denominator is. It's only when we're adding and subtracting. So our final answer is going to be 49/6. But let's write that as a mixed number. So let's take 49 divided by 6. We get 8.166666666 repeating. So we know our whole number is going to be 8. To get our calculator back, we'll subtract that 8 off. Multiply it by our denominator, which is 6. And our remainder is going to be 1. And we put that over the denominator, which is 6. So look at this last question. 5 1/2 cups water will be divided equally into 3 jars. How much water will go into each jar? So we're talking about division here. It literally says the word divided. So we're going to take our 5 1/2 cups. Again, I apologize for it skipping around. I don't know why it's doing that. So we're going to take our 5 1/2 cups, and we are going to divide it by 3. So this is 5 times 2. We've got to turn it into an improper fraction. That's going to be 10. Add the numerator. That's going to be 11 halves divided by, and remember, 3 is just the same thing as saying 3/1. So when we turn this division into multiplication, it's going to be 11 halves times 1/3. That's going to give us 11 sixths. We want to change this into a mixed number. So take our calculator. 11 divided by 6 is 1.833333 repeating. So our whole number is going to be 1. Subtract that 1 off. Multiply it by our denominator, which is 6. And we get 5. So it's going to be 1 and 5 sixths. Another way you may have thought about this is you can just subtract 6 from the numerator and you'll end up with 5. So 11 sixths is the same thing as saying 6 sixths, it's hard to say, plus 5 sixths, which is the same thing as 1 plus 5 sixths. So again, 2 different ways to get the same answer. Use what works best for you.